everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host, John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, and we're going to be talking about its Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray. But before I get into that 4K Blu-ray review, if you don't want to know anything about the film and you're just here for that review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, was released in August of 1993 by New Line Cinema, who did not produce the first 8 films in the Friday the 13th franchise. Paramount Pictures actually did that, and after the failure that was Jason Takes Manhattan, Sean S. Cunningham, the original director of Friday the 13th, wanted to make a Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger crossover. The idea being, Freddy versus Jason, which would come to fruition in 2003. But, it wasn't working out at that time, and Paramount Pictures decided, we'll give New Line Cinemas the rights to the Jason Voorhees name, the Jason Voorhees character, but they didn't give them the Friday the 13th name. And when I was reading about this, it said that they had forgot to do that. I mean, you don't just forget something like that. And if you're New Line Cinemas, how do you not realize you didn't buy the name of the franchise? It's known as the Friday the 13th franchise. Yes, Jason Voorhees is the lead character in this franchise, but, it's the name, and it's a pretty big deal. We didn't even get the Friday the 13th name back until 2009's remake, so it was a long time before the Friday the 13th name actually returned. They just assumed people know Jason, and it kind of worked, I guess. I mean, the movie didn't make that much money. This had a $3 million budget. It only made $15 million, so this was an out-and-out failure as well, and it was a failure with fans. I mean, a lot of people did not like this movie. They didn't like shape-shifting Jason, possessing people. But for me, when I first saw this movie, I remember renting this on VHS, going back to my grandma's house and watching it, sitting on the floor in front of like those old wooden TVs. And I love this movie. I've always liked the sillier Jason characters, Zombie Jason, Uber Jason. I know some people prefer like the original trilogy of movies, Friday the 13th, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, where it's a little bit more realistic. Obviously there's some disbelief. How does Jason always catch up to these people? But, those ones are a little bit more straightforward slashes. But I like it when the franchise starts to have a little bit of fun. That's why I've always said Jason Lives is my favorite in the franchise, because it's basically a satire of the entire Friday the 13th franchise. And I just think that absolutely works. The silliness of the Jason Voorhees character, I think, works best in a sillier film. I understand why people hate this movie. There's a lot of stupidness in it, but for me, this movie has just always worked. I put it in, I have an absolute blast. I mean, I watched the unrated cut, then I watched the theatrical cut. I could have went back to the unrated cut. I just had a great time watching this movie. It comes in at 88 minutes long. It being so short is the reason why they actually had to add scenes for the TV version. Who the hell was watching the TV version of Jason Goes to Hell? It's a Friday the 13th. Well, actually, it's not a Friday the 13th film, but either way, or it's a Jason Voorhees movie. I mean, you want to see blood and guts, right? That's why the unrated cut edition exists, because people were like, yeah, we want to see more of this. We want to see more of this gore and grossness. And I appreciate the movie for that. The opening for this film is perfect. It plays with your expectations. I mean, is it stupid? How does this make any sense? Like, you're like luring in like a dog, like, oh, you know what, Jason really? And again, this silliness and stupidness really works for me. Like, how do we get Jason here? Oh, you need to have some young sex going on, drugs and alcohol. That'll attract him here. That'll bring him in. Like the scent of a dog. He'll come here. And then, of course, they light him up like a Christmas tree with the entire SWAT team. They blast him with the lights, and, they think you killed him. You think you finally put Jason down. But no, that's not what Jason is. They basically just reinvented the rules for Jason again. And this is, a horror film trope through and through. Just reinvent the rules as the movies go on until there's just too many rules and you don't remember what the rules even are. Because in this movie, I mean, it even says it on the Wikipedia page, it's ridiculous. Jason becomes like a shapeshifter. Essentially, he's the big giant worm. It goes down people's throats, or like the guy at the hospital eats the freaking heart. That's how he becomes the new Jason Voorhees. People were upset because you didn't get to see Jason too much in this movie. Jason's, taking the form of other characters. But I love that in this movie. The kills are great. And also the Duke, played by Steve Williams, love his performance. Is it over the top? Absolutely. But him breaking the other guy, one of our main characters' fingers in the cell as payment instead of cash, I just love to see that kind of stuff. Again, I know it's really silly, but that's the stuff that adds the enjoyment to this film. I've never gone into this movie and thought, that's a very well-made movie. Even though Adam Marcus, the director, poured his heart and soul into this movie, but apparently he didn't finish the movie because he had some issues with Stephen Cunningham, the producer for this film, the original director of the franchise, who's also a friend of Adam Marcus. He's known Adam Marcus since he was a young kid, since he was 9 years old. So, fresh out of film school, giving him his chance to make his movie. But apparently Sean Cunningham Cunningham wasn't too happy with the final cut, and he went in there and I fixed some stuff, and I guess they were happy with the final product. I know I was happy with the final product. You know, you got Kane Hodder playing Jason again. He is the most famous actor to play Jason, which is funny because he didn't come along until The New Blood, but yeah, you know, he's got that look. He also plays a cop in this movie, and he's also the hand of Freddy Krueger, so he's playing 3 roles in this. You know, definitely just one of the most famous stuntmen of all time, just because people know him for Jason Voorhees, and he's always seemed like a really cool guy, willing to give autographs to people, you know, big on the horror circuit if you're into that kind of thing. And you love that. And then, of course, you know, the rest of the movie, you know, it's building up and building up, and I get it. It's really stupid how we're able to kill Jason. It has to be by a Voorhees family member, and of course, now we're going to have to shoestring that in, that big reveal at the end of one of these characters actually being a Voorhees. And I mean, of course, the only way he can actually be reincarnated is through a Voorhees as well. Again, these are all new rules added in for this movie, and I get it. If you're sitting there scratching your head going like, this doesn't make any sense, I totally understand. I just always kind of bought into that stupidity of the movie and just enjoyed it for what it is. Almost just like a very well-made B-movie in a way, you know, but I get it. If you're a big fan of the Friday the 13th franchise, you get up to this one and you're like, what the fuck is going on? For me, I mean, that film is Jason Takes Manhattan, so when they got to this movie, I was all in. Even though I'm not a big fan of Jason Takes Manhattan, I was all in on this one, and I still am. I still really enjoy this movie, and of course, you know, the big ending. And when I first saw this on VHS, Freddy vs. Jason hadn't come out yet. It was like the late 90s. It hadn't even been announced yet. But I was like, what the fuck? You know, Freddy reaches his hand in, grabs Jason's mask, and drags it back down to hell. That's what Jason is. And, you know, it sets up Freddy vs. Jason. Of course, at the time, you're like, what? You know, I didn't understand New Line Cinema rights. I didn't understand all that. So I was like, are they setting up this movie? Like, Jason X hadn't even come out yet. You know, and I was like, what is that about? You know, the internet was early and I wasn't really on it, so I had no idea what that was. I just assumed that's a cool way to end the movie. Jason and Freddy, are they going to fight? But, you know, of course we would eventually get that movie, and Freddy vs. Jason is pretty kick-ass. That has a soft spot in my heart as well. But Jason Goes to Hell is one that I can always recommend if you've never seen it. Try and go into it like a certain mindset. Don't go into this expecting Citizen Kane. Probably go into it expecting the opposite of Citizen Kane, and you'll have a fucking blast with it. I have always loved this movie. I think you guys will love this movie as well, if you know what kind of movie you're getting into. I assume if you're watching this review, you know what this movie is. Maybe you appreciate it. Maybe you hate it. I don't know. I've met both sides, and I feel like there really is no in between. You have to appreciate this movie for what it is. And if you are a big fan, hey, you're probably here to check out this 4K Blu-ray from Arrow Video, and let's talk about that right now. So the big thing about Jason Goes to Hell is that this received a brand new 4K scan from Arrow Video, who's just been hitting home run after home run after home run. They can't miss on their 4K Blu-ray scans right now. And they put out Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X on 4K Blu-ray in this beautiful packaging. Now, I actually pre-ordered Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X on 4K Blu-ray through Arrow Video, but it got delayed. And during that delay, I had paid, I think, almost $40 on Arrow Video's website, and then they dropped down to like $28 on other websites, so I just ended up canceling my orders there, and everyone had already had their reviews out, so I kind of checked out some people's opinions, and I just grabbed Jason Goes to Hell for right now. I will grab Jason X on 4K Blu-ray sometime down the line, but the thing is, I love Jason Goes to Hell, but Jason X, you know, it's a little bit less than. I still really enjoy it, but I didn't feel the need to go out and get it. Where, of course, you know, you got the big Friday the 13th box set here. People always ask, is this thing still worth it? I saw Mid-Level Media did a video about this, because we have gotten Friday the 13th Part 1 and Part 2 on 4K Blu-ray, and now we have gotten Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell, and Friday the 13th, 2009. So 5 of these 12 films have now come to 4K Blu-ray, making these a little bit obsolete, but I kind of disagree with that. Yes, because if you were going to compare the Jason Goes to Hell that's in that Blu-ray box set that came out a few years ago from Shout Factory to the Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray, it's night and day when it comes to the visuals, but there is not huge of a difference in everything else. And of course, like Jason X, I've seen people compare Jason X to the new 4K Blu-ray release, and that's even less than. I believe Jason Goes to Hell is the only one of those two that received a brand new 4K Blu-ray scan of the camera negative, whereas a lot of stuff was a 2K intermediate, where it was like upscaled and everything like that. I believe a lot of the movies in that Friday the 13th box set received brand new 2K scans. I think like the first couple of films, Jason Goes to Hell, I read also received one, but again, that's just a new 2K scan at the time that really didn't get as much effort as Arrow Video put into these 4K Blu-ray releases. Arrow Video obviously acquired the rights to the New Line version of the Jason Voorhees films, and like I said in my film review, you know, Paramount didn't give him the rights to the Friday the 13th name. That's how he ended up in movies like Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and Freddy vs. Jason, because they're just playing with the idea that you know who Jason Voorhees is, what franchise he came out of. He overshadows the Friday the 13th name. And that's what they were hoping. That's how you end up with this 4K Blu-ray. And I love that the artwork is similar for Friday the 13th, 2009, Jason X, keeping that uniform look. And I just really love the artwork. I really love what they did here. The slipcover is great. You come underneath, this box art is reversible, which is awesome. I love that Arrow Video does that as well. You come inside, you get a poster. That's awesome. I wish I had room for it because I absolutely love this poster. This is one that would end up on the wall. Like I said, I just love that artwork. You get 2 4K Blu-ray discs. That's because you have the theatrical cut and you have the unrated cut on 2 separate discs, which is very similar to what Shout Factory did a few years ago. They also had the theatrical cut and the unrated cut separated in the 2 discs. The audio commentary tracks that were on those Shout releases do carry over to here. Also a brand new audio commentary track, but you can only check out those audio commentary tracks on the unrated edition, which I found to be a little bit strange. You would think that people would probably want to check them out with the theatrical cut. Then again, I do feel that the theatrical cut is superior, mainly because the only big differences between the theatrical and the unrated cut of this film is it's just more gory. They turned it up to 10 basically. We don't got an R rating, it's unrated, so we can just do whatever the hell we want, and I love it. So I'm always going to watch the unrated cut. The introduction is the same introduction I believe that was from Shout as well, so you get that on both versions as well. Adam Marcus, he seems like one of us, and you can check him out in a bunch of interviews. They got a ton of new interviews, Arrow Video, which I really do appreciate. No new documentary or anything, which I guess makes sense. It's Jason Goes to Hell. I should just be happy that we got, I think it was like 4 or 5 brand new interviews. Like I've said in the past, Arrow Video, they're the ones keeping these extras alive, the things that I absolutely love. And I mean, they load the disc up with extras. I just wanted a documentary, but hey, that's me being picky. That's not me complaining because, again, they gave us so many extras. Most of those extras, except for those audio commentary tracks, though, are going to be on the theatrical cut, so that's disc 1. Disc 2, you're just going to find the commentary tracks and the unrated cut of the 4K. So, of course, then when you carry over to that and you're watching that 4K, how are the visuals? How is the audio? The audio is the same. You get a 2.0 and a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. I chose to watch it with the 5.1 mainly because I want to have my surround sound kicking ass. And a movie like this, I think it works. I actually really enjoy the score, that sound effect in the score of this movie, I don't know if that's Jason just making noises. That's always what I've imagined. It's when Jason's getting shot by the SWAT team, that's the noises he'd be making, but that's just right in the score. Love that. But the sound effects of this movie, it all sounds pretty good. It was a very solid DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. The 2.0 is good too if that's the route you want to go. I think with a movie like this, you're going to want that 5.1. Why not? I don't think this is a classic film where you're trying to remember it from the cinemas in 1993. Only $15 million worth of people went and saw it during that release. So I don't know if that's something that people are into, but hey, both audio tracks do work. I just recommend the 5.1, but again, that's me. That's my personal opinion. This movie is also presented to you in Dolby Vision. It's HDR10 compatible. I compared them. Didn't really see too much of a difference, if I'm being honest with you guys. Checked it out on a couple different TVs. Didn't see too much of a big difference either which way you go. Thought it looked beautiful. If you do have that previous released Shout version, that Scream Factory version on Blu-ray, it's a pretty noticeable jump in my opinion from Blu-ray to 4K Blu-ray. The 4K didn't blow me away right away. The early scenes in the movie, I just think they didn't light them that good, and you'll notice that. That's just a source material thing. Happens a lot with 4K Blu-rays. I don't think it's an illustration of the quality of the 4K Blu-ray, just how they lit certain scenes. But overall, I mean, it is a stunning 4K Blu-ray. The colors look natural. Everything looks natural now. Everything looks realistic. Skin looks real. Detail looks real. Then, I mean, there's heavy detail. The 4K is doing a ton of work. This is another great 4K Blu-ray from Arrow Video. Jason Goes to Hell doesn't even deserve to look this good, but I'm so glad it does. I can highly recommend it from a visual standpoint. If that's really what you want to know, is the visuals the best part of this 4K Blu-ray release? Absolutely. They're almost a 10 out of 10 visuals. I would say it's more like a 9 out of 10 visuals, but that's enough because you do get plenty of extras, great packaging, great audio. And like I said, I got this for $28, and I feel like I stole it at that price. Not to always compare movies to Kingdom of Heaven, but just to let you guys know, I know that Jason Goes to Hell is nothing like Kingdom of Heaven, but if I had Kingdom of Heaven and Jason Goes to Hell in my hand, and I'm like, which one am I watching today? I'm probably going to grab Jason Goes to Hell, and that 4K Blu-ray is half the price of Kingdom of Heaven, which you can't even get right now. You can grab Jason Goes to Hell on 4K Blu-ray right now with all the bells and whistles, both cuts of it, beautiful packaging, and you won't be disappointed by it. I can guarantee it. As long as you like the film. I wouldn't recommend buying this movie if you're not a fan of Jason Goes to Hell. If you're somebody who thinks this movie is really stupid and shouldn't exist, probably give this 4K Blu-ray a skip because it's not going to change your opinion of the movie. I don't care how good the 4K quality is. If you're not a fan of that story and you can't buy into it, you're not going to like this 4K Blu-ray. But if you do, how would I rate this 4K Blu-ray on a score of 1 to 10? I would give Jason Goes to Hell on 4K from Arrow Video a very solid 9 out of 10. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel membership, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel, like John Doe Juggalo and Ben Rondo, you could do that. Or you could become a channel director like Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Kevin Kruger, Uncle V, and Nicholas Head. And you could become a channel bankroll member if you want to do that, like Mr. Smelly Potato. But guys, there's always no pressure. If you got no money to throw away, don't worry about it. I just hope you guys enjoyed the review. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.